Hello, Jeff Zwarenk, and thanks for joining us again for Give and Take, the segment of the show where we look at how science and Christianity work together so that you can be more confident in sharing the truth of the faith. Today I'm joined by my colleague and friend Ken Samples, and we're going to explore why mathematics so effectively describes the universe in which we live. Ken, it's good to have you here.
Nice to be with you.
You know, I remember when I was in college, I was taking a bunch of math classes, a bunch of physics classes, and in one of my math classes, we spent a lot of time dealing with imaginary numbers, taking the square root of 1 and finding these holes and planes, and it was just bizarre mathematics. A few weeks later, I'm taking a physics class, and we're using that process to solve real-world physical problems.
Wow.
Why is it that mathematics so effectively describes the cosmos?
I think this is one of the most interesting and provocative issues, Jeff. Like you, although I didn't take nearly as many science classes, when I took a physics course, I immediately realized that physicists look at the world through the prism of mathematics. Mm-hmm. And I was struck by the fact that math corresponded to the nature of reality. And being a philosophy major, I immediately began asking, why does math work? And doesn't that make sense in a Christian worldview? But what about an atheistic naturalist worldview where there's no mind behind the universe? I think that's a provocative topic, and I think it could be marshaled as an argument for theism.
Yeah, and I want to explore and kind of dig into that because there's part of me. I mean, we've had these discussions enough, and I look at that and say, well, of course it works because I've just seen practically that it works out so often. Why is it surprising that mathematics describes the universe?
Well, let's say that there's no mind behind the universe. Let's say the universe is the product of blind, mechanistic, natural processes. So there isn't any intellectual guide to the process. Mm-hmm. I mean, math strikes me as this deeply intellectual, cerebral idea process. Mm-hmm. So why should a human being who evolved, our brains evolved, we come up with ideas in our brain that actually correspond to the nature of the universe? It seems amazingly improbable. There's no way to understand how that could conceivably happen as an accident.
The idea you're articulating is that if this is all just kind of the way it is, if you will, there's no mind, there's no rationality, there's no reason behind it, if you will, why is it that our minds, which are just part of the natural world, have this capacity to describe things symbolically, logically, coherently with very complex mathematical, relationships? The idea that you can divide by 0 and take the square root of -1, things that are no-nos are actually an integral part of how we do this mathematical work.
And if the universe is written in the language of mathematics, isn't it an amazing thing that we as accidental creatures in the process of evolution can detect that mathematical and come up with models that correspond to the universe? It sounds like it's a rigged game from my point of view.
Well, and to me, this seems obvious that this fits within a Christian worldview, Judeo-Christian worldview. If God is the mind behind the universe, the idea that He's created us with His image, that we can understand His creation, that just seems to fit coherently. How would you articulate this argument for the truth of the Judeo-Christian worldview?
Well, I would say, look, the Christian model is, as you say, God created the world. He created it with math and logic, with the laws of physics. They flow from His nature. He made us in His image. Then He networked Himself, us, and the universe together. So there is this connection. In fact, I think if Christianity is true, we should anticipate that math would work. We should anticipate that our minds would correspond to the universe. If there's no mind behind the universe, if math is just an undefinable or unexplainable reality, and if we're the product of blind luck, chance, that seems to be at odds. I'm not saying that non-Christians, atheists don't appreciate math and science, but the question here is, who has the best model of explanation? I think clearly it's on the side of theism.
So how would you use this? So you're out talking to someone who's skeptical, doesn't believe the truth of Christianity, but very much has a scientific bent to themselves. How would you use this idea to engage them with the gospel?
I think what I would say is intelligent people, when they want to solve challenging issues, they appeal to a toolbox, and that toolbox is mathematics, the laws of logic, the laws of physics. I mean, that's how intelligent people work. When they want to work something through, they bring these intelligent processes to bear on various issues. But now the question is, how do we explain logic, math, and our scientific abilities? It seems to me those fit better with God. And I would say, look, if you're a person who prizes mathematics and logic and reason and rationality, that fits well with the idea that there is a great mathematician, the scientist who has created a process that is cogent.
So it seems like in some sense this allows us to come alongside with the skeptic, if you will, and say, yeah, there's just this powerful tool, mathematics and science, that allows us to articulate and understand and explore the world. But then we can kind of push deeper and say, why does it work that way?
Yes.
So there's this common ground that we have and an appreciation for science and mathematics. But as a Christian, we can come and say, hey, I think we've got a better explanation here.
I think that's exactly right. I think that we should appeal when non-Christians love math, love science, love reasoning. I think we should say we have a worldview that is compatible, that provides an explanation for all of those wondrous realities.
Well, thanks, Ken. I appreciate your comments. Science really is a powerful tool to understand this creation in which we live. And the language of science is mathematics. And the remarkable correspondence between those two is recognized by Christians and non-Christians alike. I would encourage you to go to reasons.org and check out some of Ken's blogs about this, and particularly search for susceptibility to rational investigation. And you'll find some articles that equip you to see how amazingly science and mathematics fit together, and how to use this tool to point towards the Creator so that you can know Him better and so that you can share the great Creator with those around you.